Assalamu alaikum students. Welcome to AppSec's online sport program for class 8. It's week 9 and day 1 and I'm your biology teacher Miss Sophia Yaqub from APS Boys Salcourt. Your textbook name is Biology for 9th class PLD publisher Lahore. Here is the title of your textbook. And the chapter we are studying is chapter number 3, biodiversity. And the page number is 36 to 37. And the lesson topic is 2 and 3 kingdom classification system. Resources which are required are laptop, loose sheet, pen, etc. And in this lesson, we are going to study that two kingdom classification system was proposed first of all, and due to its drawback it was rejected, and then three kingdom classification system was given and it had few drawbacks too. It's time to recapitulate. Before vacations we studied the topic history of classification. Now just recall the topic and answer the questions. The question number 1 is, who did introduce classification system for the first time? And the second question is, what was the contribution of Carolus Linnaeus? For the sure you would know the answers, that Aristotle introduced classification system for the first time, and Carolus Linnaeus contributed by classifying organisms into 5 taxa and gave the system of binomial nomenclature. That is the system of giving scientific name to the living organisms, and we will study about this system in this chapter later. Our today's topics are two kingdom classification system and three kingdom classification system. And our objectives are, students will be able to define two kingdom classification system, three kingdom classification system and their drawbacks. First of all, we are going to study about two kingdom classification system. As you remember, Aristotle presented a system in which he divided organisms into two groups. So it is the oldest system, and in this organisms are divided into two groups. The first one is Plantae and the second one is Animalia. In two kingdom classification system, all the organisms that could prepare food from simple inorganic material and thus could store energy were called autotrophs, and they were included in kingdom Plantae. As you can see in the picture, plant is making its food, that is sugar, from inorganic substances, that is water, sunlight, carbon dioxide and soil. Animalia were heterotrophs. All the organisms that could not synthesize their food and depend on other autotrophs and other organisms are called heterotrophs, and they were included in kingdom Animalia. As you can see in the pictures, plants by doing the photosynthesis are making the food, and that food is being eaten by heterotrophic organisms. And all the heterotrophic organisms were included in kingdom Animalia, and all the autotrophic organisms were included in kingdom Plantae. According to this system, bacteria, fungi, and algae were added in kingdom Plantae. Later on, this system was ejected. And what was the reason? Because it had few drawbacks. When, after so many years, a microscopic organism was discovered, its name was Euglena. It has characteristics of both autotroph and heterotrophs. It has chlorophyll, which help in photosynthesis in the presence of light, and in the absence of light, it acts as heterotroph, and then it get food from other organisms. So there was no right place for such organisms in two kingdom classification system. And the second biggest drawback was it ignored the differences between organisms having prokaryotic and those having eukaryotic cells. If you remember in chapter number 1, we studied about these type of cells. Prokaryotes is that type of cells which is not having any proper nucleus, and eukaryote is a cell which is having a proper nucleus. As you can see in the picture, eukaryote is having a proper nucleus and prokaryotes are just having free DNA. There is a critical thinking question for you. Review all the information above and tell in which group a human would be included according to two kingdom classification system. After the rejection of two kingdom classification system, three kingdom classification system was introduced. It was introduced by Ernst Haeckel in 1866. Organisms were divided in three groups. A new group was added named Protista to keep the Euglena-like organisms. So, three kingdom classification system was having three groups. The first one was Plantae, then Animalia, and the third one was Protista. According to this system, fungi was included in kingdom Plantae. I have another question for you. According to three kingdom classification system, where would you place algae? Just search about it and keeping in mind the characteristics of algae, you can give the answer. Three kingdom classification system was rejected due to its drawbacks. The first drawback was likewise two kingdom classification system. It also ignored the differences between organisms having prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Second major drawback due to which three kingdom classification system was rejected, it was that this system placed fungi in kingdom Plantae. Fungi have few characteristics similar to plant and few characteristics similar to animals. They have cell wall like plants, but their cell wall is made up of chitin instead of cellulose. And fungi are heterotrophs like animal, but their mode of nutrition is absorptive heterotroph. That means they first release the enzyme to digest the food and then absorb it. So they are somehow different from plants and animals both. So they were kept in kingdom Plantae. That was wrong. So it was all about today. Let's have a recap. We have studied about two classification systems today. Two kingdom classification system and three kingdom classification system. Two kingdom classification system is the system in which organisms are divided into two groups, Plantae and Animalia, on the basis of mode of nutrition, whether they are heterotrophs or autotrophs. So in three kingdom classification systems, organisms were divided into three groups, plants, Animalia, and Protista. Both of these systems were rejected due to their drawbacks. So there are your assignment questions. First question is differentiate between two kingdom classification system and three kingdom classification system. The second question is what are the drawbacks of three kingdom classification system? Watch the video carefully and answer these questions. Good luck.